Continuing our exploration and elaboration of Sri Vishnu Sahasranama. Now we're on name 940, which is Disa. So we just did Vidisha and Vyadisha, and now Disa, and that's a series of 3 names which are very similar, just 3 names, one after another. Then we'll go on to another set of names. So all of these names have similar meanings. Disa is generally taken here by most of the commentators to mean he who commands. The word Disa is used in Indian languages up to the present time, Disha, to mean direction in the sense of northwest, southeast, up, down, in that sense of direction. And Disha, this means direction in both senses. That means up, down, right, left, and all this. And also in the sense of giving commands or guidelines. Similar common words, all of which are current in Indian languages up to the present time, are Adesh, which means in order or instruction, Nirdesh, an order or an indication, a demonstration, a decision, a definition. Upadesh means advice or instruction. Sandesh means an order or a message. What is your message for the world? What is your sandesh? It means news or information. Udesh means aim or direction. Udeshya, purpose or motive. Parashara Bhatta takes this name Disa to mean command. And again, it's very similar to the previous names. Previously, Parashara Bhatta explained that Bhagavan establishes Brahma and Rudra in their position. He puts them in the positions, but he also commands them, you do this, you do that, and controls them. You have to do this, you have to do that. He makes sure they do what they're supposed to do. And Parashara Bhatta elaborates that this is unlike his treatment of devotees such as Gajendra. We're still discussing Gajendra, who are treated not as underlings or orderlies. We have that word in English, orderly. Well, it can mean 2 things. It can be an adjective, but as a noun, it means someone who follows orders, a subordinate. Subordinate. So we're discussing here linguistically. This Sanskrit language is a perfect language and is in its perfection in describing the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and other languages also have their nuances. Gajendra is much closer, an object of love, whereas those who are operating according to their karma, like Brahma, they take orders, they're order carriers, they're orderlies, whereas Bhagavan feels much closer. He doesn't order Gajendra, do this, do that. Rather, he comes, in one sense, he was serving Gajendra. He came to people are trying to go to God, they look in the direction of God. Om tad Vishnu paramang padang sada pashyanti suryaha. The saintly people, they're always looking up to the spiritual world, to the abode of the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. They want to go there. But Bhagavan, he came to Gajendra. He personally came to him. So there's a differentiation there. He's not Disa for Gajendra. But Gajendra is invoked here as an example of someone who is not, Bhagavan is Disa, but not in relation to Gajendra, but just taking him as an example. He gives orders and puts people in their place. That comes up with Baladev Vidyabhushan's explanation of this name, which we'll get through to. Now we may say that, well, the orderlies, they're subject to the effects of their karma, but Gajendra, he was also subject to the effect of a curse. That's why he got such a body. We have to understand, karmani nirdahati kintucha bhakti bhajam, that even if a devotee appears to be under the sway, under the effect of karmic reactions, or in this case a curse, that it's all ordained by the Supreme Lord for their purification and to help bring them back to Him. So a devotee doesn't suffer or enjoy karma in the same way that a materialist does. And we may say, well, Brahma, he's also a devotee. That's true, but he got established, or generally one is established in the position of Brahma as a karmic function, but one also has to be a devotee. But we don't want a demon as Lord Brahma. It has to be someone who recognizes the authority of Vishnu. Devotee, yes, but sakama bhakta. They have personal material desires. We may say, well, Gajendra, he was an elephant. He was acting on the platform of desire like any other being in this world. He was enjoying with his family, his elephant family, and his whole, the whole flock of elephants, herd of elephants. Yeah, but again, there are many cases in Shastra of devotees who appear to be submerged in family affairs. That question comes up very much in the beginning of the 5th canto with Priyavrata, who didn't want to get involved in family life but was ordered to by Manu and Brahma. So he did, and he appeared to be involved in family life. But we should know that in such cases, the basic attitude of such a devotee is that he wants to be with Krishna, and he may some traces of material desire, which he's just living out or burning out, and his material life is coming to an end. With Brahma, generally, those who take the post of Brahma, they're liberated. Not in every case. Generally, they're liberated, but again, their attitude in relation to Vishnu, it's very much one of awe and reverence, rather and obeying the commands. Whereas in the case of Gajendra, it was simply a call of desperation. This is how we should chant Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada instructed famously, we should call out to Krishna when we're chanting Hare Krishna, just like a child calls for the mother, in complete dependence, in complete trust, in complete submission, and with a feeling for the mother, that the child doesn't know any other than the mother. Another meaning of Disa, one who advises, in the form of the Shastra and gives knowledge, gives direction. One advises the Shastras, they give advice, they give orders, they give various stories to help instruct us. In this way, Bhagavan Disha, he establishes through the Vedas and the broader body of Vedic literature what is proper, what is to be followed, what is improper, and what is to be avoided, the ways, what should be done, how things should be done, and things that should not be done. All of this is given. The directions how to live and act in this world. The Vedic knowledge is like a manual for living in this world. I was present when Srila Prabhupada explained to Mike Robinson of the London Broadcasting Corporation, when Mike Robinson asked about the scripture. What is the scripture? And Srila Prabhupada gave an example, that just like with a microphone, you get a manual how to use it. So the scripture is a manual for the universe, how to live in the universe, how to act in the universe, to get the best benefit from it. So how to live and work in this world. We find in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, Sarvam karma khilam partha jnane parisamapyate. All work, and work in Bhagavad Gita generally refers to work according to the Vedic system, according to the Vedic directions. So all work, Krishna says, culminates in transcendental knowledge. Krishna gives rewards to people who follow the injunctions of the Vedas, who are dedicated to dharma. He gives rewards as are promised. It's he who gives them. There's a whole system. People have material desires. Krishna promises to fulfill them through following the Vedic processes, the karma process, karma kanda. But the whole process of karma kanda is set up in such a way, sarvam karma akilam partha jnane parisamapyate, that one gradually should gravitate toward the platform of transcendental knowledge. He gives various processes in which his name is invoked, in which his magnificence and his munificence are invoked, and in this way he sets them off in the right direction. Their mentality is to go in the wrong direction, to enjoy this world, but by the Vedic process he gradually brings them in to the right direction. Disha means direction. So by giving the Vedic directions, orders, he sets them in the right direction toward himself. Again, we find in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna instructs Arjuna, Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi, brahmakshara samudbhavam, tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yagye pratishtitam. Regulated activities, that's karma, regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. The Vedic system is to do karmas which are, they come together in sacrifice, and by doing that, one should come to the platform of knowledge. So one should, if one is not on the platform of transcendental knowledge, or better still, or even the higher platform of full devotion to Krishna, then one has to follow one's karmic activities. Karma in the sense of following one's specific occupation according to varnashram, one's specific role as a brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasi. If one doesn't follow, Krishna warns very severely. Evam pravartitam chakram nanu varta yatiha yaha aghayur indriyaramo mogham partha sajivati. My dear Arjuna, Partha, one who does not in human life follow the cycle of sacrifice thus established in the Vedas certainly leads a life full of sin. Living only for the satisfaction of the senses, such a person lives in vain. So Krishna gives the Shastra to help people who are pious, inclined to do good, but also have a strong desire to enjoy this world. He gives it to them to help them to come up. And if a person doesn't follow this cycle of sacrifice, the whole karma one has to perform, the karma and then the result of karma in the form of grains and ghee that is offered in yajna, in sacrifice. And in the yajna there will be brahmanas who in the interval between the yajnas speak on the Puranas, and in this way people get spiritual knowledge. So Krishna warns that if you don't follow this cycle, then you're going to live sinfully only for the satisfaction of the senses, and your life is useless. He similarly warns later in the Gita, Yah Shastra Vidhim Utsrija Vartate Kamakarataha Nasa Siddhim Avapnoti Nasukam Naparam Gatim. He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection, nor happiness, nor the supreme destination. Tasmach, therefore, tasmach chastram pramanam te karya vyavastito gyatva shastra vidhanoktam karma kartum iharhasi. One should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. One should take direction from Krishna in the form of the Shastra. Disa, take direction. Take his instructions so that we know which direction our life should be going in. Another commentator, Raghunath Tirtha, explains that Dishyate means Bhaktaye Prichyate iti Dishaha. He is the one who is to be inquired about by the devotees. He's the one that they're looking for. Devotee can find Krishna wherever he looks, in every direction. Now, we've been through these names, Vidisha, Vyadisha, and now Disha. They all have very similar meanings, derived from the same roots. And we'll see that the different Vyakhana Kartas, those who explain the names, have explained the names, even though they have they could be all explained in the same way to mean the same thing, but the commentators have unpacked these names in such a way as to avoid redundancy and bring out different aspects of how Vishnu is commanding, giving direction. Otherwise, there'd be no meaning to having the different names if they all were understood to mean the same thing. Prajapati takes these three names, Vidisha, Vyadisha, and Disha. Vidisha he takes to mean whose names, forms, and qualities are spread out in all directions. Then he who gave direction, he appointed the different gods in their different posts. And Disha he takes to mean he who commands. Shankaracharya says that Vidisha means he who did throughout the centuries, and now we're fortunate to be able to discuss them even in the English language. Baladev Vidyabhushan, who you will remember is taking this series of names in relation to Brahma stealing the cowherd boys and calves from Krishna and the fallout of that. He's explaining these names one after another in relation to each other. So you may remember that he explained Vidisha as Avidisha. He didn't give any direction, any verbal direction to Brahma. He just told him, he didn't tell him, he just indicated to him to go. And then he took Vyadisha to mean that he already gives Brahma so many instructions on so many subjects. And as Brahma is the superintendent of the universe and should know better than to have done what he did, it was proper that he only said that much, or he only just indicated, go. And then Disha he takes to be Adisha. Baladev says that he can do like that. He can behave with Brahma like that. Who can behave with Brahma like that? Krishna can do that because he is the one to whom no one gives direction. He is the Supreme Lord of all lords. And Baladev Vidyabhushan elaborates on this. He's the Supreme Lord of all lords. As, for instance, there are many statements in the Shastra. Baladev gives from Shvetashvatara Upanishad, Tamishvaranam paramam maheshwaram tam devatanam paramam jadaivatam pating pati nam paramam parastat vidama devang bhuvanesham iryam. May we know that great Lord, Maheshwara, the great controller, the supreme Lord of all lords, the supreme deity over all the demigods, the supreme master of all masters, the supreme God, the worshipable master of the world. That's from Shruti, Shvetashvatara Upanishad, and from Srimad Bhagavatam. There are many also such statements, and Baladev has chosen to quote from the 3rd canto, chapter 2, text 21. Svayang tvasam yati shayastrayadishaha svaraja lakshmyapta samasta kamaha baling harad bhishchira lokapalai kirita kotyerita padapitaha. Lord Krishna has no equal or superior, and his desires are completely fulfilled through his own personal transcendental supreme opulence. He is himself the Lord of the 3 worlds, and his foot stand, where he puts his foot down from his throne, is praised by all the long-standing rulers of the universe who come and touch the tip of their helmets to him while offering him gifts. Vanta kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyavacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.